You know how life sometimes puts you in difficult situations, random moments that stick in your mind forever. This was one of them. The story began on a Tuesday morning when everything was in order. I was home alone because my husband, Jaden, had left early for a business conference out of town. We had been married for 5 years. Things weren't perfect, but I thought they were going well. The house was quiet, just me, my coffee, and a pile of laundry waiting to be folded. Just as I was absorbed in my work, the doorbell rang. I wasn't expecting anyone, so naturally I hesitated for a moment. When I looked out of the window, I saw a man standing in the doorway with a toolbox. He was wearing a navy blue uniform and his name tag said James. And then I remembered Jaden had told me a few days ago that he was going to call a plumber to fix the tap in the guest bathroom. When I opened the door, James said, "Hello, ma'am. I'm here about the bathroom sink." James was polite and a little shy, but something about him struck me. Maybe it was his calm demeanor or the way he spoke. I found myself watching him a little too much. "I'll leave you alone today. I'll give it a try," I said, trying to sound casual. Then I went back to folding the laundry. Everything was normal while he worked in the bathroom, but about 20 minutes later, there was a knock on the bedroom door. Would you subscribe to my channel so that I can tell my story with all my courage? "Ma'am," said James, standing in the doorway. "I need to turn off the main water valve. It'll take a few minutes." At that moment, I was still in my pajamas, a loose tank top and shorts. Just as I turned to answer him, the strap of my tank top slipped off my shoulder. James's eyes were only there for a moment, but even that brief moment was enough to make me feel awkward. "Oh, of course," I replied, quickly straightening my tank top. He nodded and headed down the corridor, but that brief moment stayed with me longer than it should have. "It was an accident, nothing more," I said to myself and tried to suppress the strange feeling I had. After a while, James called out again. "Ma'am, I'm going to need your help," he said from the bathroom. My pulse quickened. I walked into the bathroom and stood next to James, and he said, "Can you hold this?" "I need to hold the pipe steady," he said. He held out the spanner and leaned over the pipe. We were quite close because the space was tight, and the closeness made me uncomfortable. Our hands touched for a moment. The brief contact sent a shiver down my spine. "I'm sorry," James said, pulling his hand away quickly. "It's okay," I murmured, avoiding eye contact. There was a strange tension in the air at that moment, but I tried to avoid it. After a while, he finished. "All done," he said and smiled slightly. "Thank you for your help." "You're welcome," I said, but my cheeks were flushed. After James had left, I looked at myself in the mirror. I realized that my cheeks were still red and my top was a bit loose, so I quickly straightened it. Just then, I remembered something James had just said. "Watch out for that strap." How was I supposed to take that? Was he flirting, or was I exaggerating? That afternoon, I got a text on my phone. The number was unknown. It said, "Hi, this is James. I just wanted to let you know the plumbing is ready. Let me know if you need anything else." I replied with a simple thank you, and almost immediately I got a reply. "You're welcome, have a great day." At that moment, I didn't understand why I was so moved. It was just an ordinary message, wasn't it? But that brief encounter kept me thinking. Please subscribe to my channel so that I can tell my experiences with all my courage. Something was wrong, but deep down I knew that something about this situation was not so innocent. No matter how much I wanted to deny it, my gut told me something was wrong. When I woke up the next morning, I got another text from James, this time not about the plumbing. It said, "Good morning, hope you're well." My heart stopped for a second. Was this normal, or was he crossing the line? I hesitated whether to answer or not, but before I could make up my mind, my phone vibrated again. "I apologize if this is going too far. I just thought you were someone I could talk to," it said. "I need someone to talk to, about my marriage and my loneliness." I knew I wasn't returning his interest, but what he said was haunting me. Did he feel something about me? Or was he just pushing the envelope and seeing how far he could go? Please subscribe to my channel so that I can tell all my experiences with all my courage. When Jaden came home that evening, I quickly put my phone in my pocket, feeling guilty, as if I'd done something secretive. "Hey, honey, how are you?" He called cheerfully. "I'm fine," I told her a little too quickly. Fortunately, he didn't notice this sudden reaction. He started talking about his conference and presentations. I pretended to listen to him, but my mind was on the messages from James. That night, with Jaden sound asleep next to me, my phone vibrated once more. I slowly picked it up and read the message. It was from James. "I hope I'm not bothering you. I just wanted to check." This message made me think for a while. Was his behavior friendly, or was he deliberately pushing the boundaries? Unable to resist my better judgment, I wrote back, "No, you're not bothering, but I think it's best to keep things professional." The moment I pressed send, I regretted it. My message hadn't been clear enough, as if I had left the door still ajar. The reply came right back. "I get it. I'm just here as a friend if you need to talk." These words seemed loaded, but what bothered me more was that a part of me didn't want to silence him. The following days passed in a blur. I found myself constantly checking my phone, wondering if he was going to text me again. In the mornings, when Jaden kissed me to go to work, I looked at myself in the mirror more often, checking my appearance. Was I hiding something, or was I just fooling myself? On Friday afternoon, James took things a step further. He sent a text to my phone saying, "I hope I'm not overstepping my bounds, but if you fancy a coffee sometime, just a friendly thing." My stomach clenched. He said, "Just a friendly thing," but I felt there was something else underneath it. I stared at the message for a long time. Should I reply? Should I just delete it and ignore it? But I knew that this was a point of no return. I felt that if I accepted, this could go beyond a friendly meeting. Subscribe to my channel so that I can tell my experiences with all my courage. So I finally wrote a reply. "I don't think this is a good idea, but thank you." I pressed send and felt relieved. I'd said no. I'd drawn the line. But a few minutes later, my phone vibrated again. "If you change your mind, you know where to find me," James had written. That message stayed with me all weekend. Even when I was spending time with Jaden, my mind kept going back to that last text. This situation with James had created a gray area in my life, and I was getting lost in it. I wasn't insistent yet. It was like everything was a challenge. Every time I looked at it, guilt gnawed at me. Jaden, on the other hand, was as reliable and completely confident as ever. He didn't even realize the turmoil inside me. Monday morning, I convinced myself it was over. James hadn't texted me again, and there was no reason for me to contact him. But all day long, something was restless inside me. I felt something missing. And then, fate, or maybe bad timing, intervened. I was in the supermarket, mindlessly wandering the fruit and vegetable aisle, when I heard a familiar voice behind me. "It's good to see you here," it said. My heart skipped a beat. I turned round and saw James standing there with a small smile. He was dressed in a comfortable pair of jeans and a t-shirt, and he had a shopping basket in his hand. Join us from the join button on my channel for my secret stories. "Oh, hello," I said, trying to speak in a calm voice. "What are you doing here?" "I'm doing what she's doing. I'm doing what she's doing. I'm buying a few things," she said casually. At that moment, I realized how disheveled I looked. I was standing there in my sportswear with a slight blush on my face. "Would you subscribe to my channel so that I can tell my experiences with all my courage?" There was an awkward silence. I was thinking of saying goodbye and walking away, but he kept talking. "Did I bother you the other day? Because I actually miss talking." My cheeks flushed. "No, it's fine," I said hurriedly, but I quickly added, "I think it's best not to go on like this." He looked away, then back at me. "I understand," he said. "You're married, I respect that, but if you ever need someone to talk to, I'm here." Those words hung in the air. My heart raced. I knew I should have walked away, but instead I said, "Thank you." And I memorized the moment like I was putting it in my pocket. My hands were shaking as I left the supermarket. As I placed the shopping bags in the car, I thought over and over again about the encounter with James. Why couldn't I just leave everything there and go? Why was I still so affected? It haunted me for days. I told myself that I would never leave an open door for James again, but that encounter had planted a disturbing seed of curiosity in my mind. Wednesday evening, Jaden was working late again. The house felt emptier than usual. As I sat on the couch, staring blankly at the television, my phone vibrated. The message was from James. "Hey, I hope you're well. I've been thinking about you." My chest tightened. I wanted to delete the message immediately, but my fingers betrayed me. "Why?" I wrote and sent it, my heart pounding. The reply came immediately. "Because you look different, like you're holding something back." I stared at his text for a while. How had he realized what he saw? How could he say so clearly what I couldn't even admit to myself? "You're wrong," I wrote back. But the words felt hollow even as I typed them. James wrote again. "I just feel like you're alone. If I'm wrong, tell me. But I can't stop thinking about it." I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. Deep down, I knew he was right. I loved Jaden, but something was missing. There was a spark, a thrill missing from our marriage. And now James seemed to fill that void. Join us from the join button on my channel for my secret stories. I hung up the phone. I was determined to end this madness. But the next morning, fate intervened again. Would you subscribe to my channel so I can tell my story with all my courage? When the doorbell rang, my stomach clenched. I opened the door to find James standing there with a toolbox. As if it was the most normal thing in the world, he said, "Hello, I realized I forgot to check the water," he said. At that moment, my heart started to race. I knew it was a bad idea, but I couldn't find the words to turn him down.